Well, fantastic evening, Broncos country. Welcome to the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, man. I'm your host. My name is Keith Brugman. I am excited. I'm ready to go. I got my 3 of my 4 horsemen here to ride with you tonight, man. We're going to get it rolling. I know that there's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of debate, man, but we're going to get into it right off the bat, man. Let's say hello. Well, to a guy I don't get to see, seems like I don't get to see enough of. I know you don't get to see enough of. Jody, the Judge Moncrief, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. Sound like Bo Nix had another tremendous day in joint practice. Hopefully he can show that Sunday night and lock this starting QB1 job up.
Yeah. Bo Nix, it seems like in training camps past, I used to use this phrase all the time. Haven't used it, I think, once this training camp. Stacking days, baby. Stacking days. And Bo Nix has been stacking days like no other. Brought in the Green Bay Packers. Didn't seem to skip a beat. Trevor, the Rocket Man Salzman, welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup. Say hello to everyone. The posse.
Yeah. It's a great time to be here. Probably arguably the most important preseason game of the year coming up against the Packers. So, Keith, I don't know if you were using that whistle, voiceover for Jody or for Bo Nix. I don't know.
There you go.
It's great to be here, and I can't wait to dive into everything that we got on plan tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited as well, man. Whistle for you as well, man. Whistle
boy.
for Jody, whistle for Bo Nix. We're excited, man. We shouldn't do too many more cat call whistles, but that's okay, man. It's not in this day and age anyway. But going to get to the comments. The posse blowing it up already. Scott's coming in and saying, Friday night lights on Broncos country with the orange and blue sunset. Yeah, I love our background and how it ended up corresponding a lot of times with our new jerseys, man. I kind of like that. It looks pretty dang good. Anyway, we got Scott coming in here as well. Greetings from Mississippi. That's Mr. Scoop. I said Scott. I'm sorry. Scoops. How's it going, Scoops? Where it is hot. Wait, this is a family show. Well, happy Friday from your resident Knicks hype train conductor. I don't know if you're the conductor. There's plenty out there. There's plenty of conductors racing to get in front of the Knicks hype train. That's for dang sure. Graham's coming in with what do we got there? Mile high salute. There it is. Isn't that crazy how we kind of actually get that as an emoji? That's fantastic that it actually works out for us. Adam's coming in and saying, let's go. Best show out there. Well, thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. He says, excited to go to a game on Sunday night. Well, nice. We'll have to get your report. We'll have to hear what you have to say. So that'll be fantastic. Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, good evening, Keith, Jody, Trevor on the DBR. Go Broncos. Absolutely. My high salute. Absolutely. Michael Ronquillo says, have fun, Adam. Absolutely. I agree. Have a ton of fun. Roy says, well, there is a debate. Before I get into it, I want to say hello to the horsemen and the posse. Anybody who's new, you're the posse. We're the horsemen, and we're going to have a fantastic show as we ride into some great topics this evening. Holy Scoops is here. Sweet. I love it. And then Graham says, saw a trade proposal on Twitter earlier. Stidham to Minnesota for center Bradbury. Maybe we'll get into that here in a little bit. I wanted to start off. We don't talk enough about some of these side topics every now and then. So I just want to say a few things really quickly. First off, congratulations to Randy Gradishar getting that gold jacket, being in the Hall of Fame. Man, way overdue. Yeah, absolutely, Jody. Clap it up. Way overdue. I'm so glad that this gentleman got in, representing the Orange Crush and representing the Denver Broncos so well. Secondly, happy 65th anniversary to the Denver Broncos, by the way, just not that long ago. Continue the run of championships that are soon to be coming in the near future, Broncos. And then last but not least, donning my I don't do this very often because this is a signed cap. I've worn this twice now. Congratulations to Justin Simmons in getting a contract with the Atlanta Falcons, $8 million, 7.5 guaranteed. Great dude, and congratulations to him. I've talked way too long. I want to get into this. I know we're going to get into this. There's going to be a lot of talk on this very first topic, and I think a lot of people have been talking about it, hinting at it. We've had another great practice by Bo Nix. Sean Payton was on Kay Adams' show and was being interviewed. He seemed giddy about Bo Nix, yet here we sit with no QB1 as we head into this at the end of now we're done with training camp. We go into preseason game 2. So Sean Payton says he has a process. Jody, I'll go to you first, man. What is the process that we're going through, and when do we see the starter be named?
I think the process now is there are other teams out there that need a backup, and I think he wants to hold Stidham as long as he can to show where we pushed him to the very end. If he announces Nix now, then it's like you gave up on Stidham. Everything that Nix has done from preseason game 1 to today's joint practices, I mean, he's done everything you're looking for. He has much more upside. He was drafted for a reason. There's no reason to sit him and wait. You don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback in front of him like the Packers did when they set their quarterback. The way he's going to get better is on the field learning. And that's what Sean Payton's here to not put him in positions to go out there and fail like Hackett did with Russ 2 years ago. But I don't really like what but back to Payton, I don't really like what he's doing. He's playing games and just announce the starter and let Nix get focused on Seattle, and that's what you got to do. Splitting reps is not helping him right now. Announce the starter and be done.
Jody, are you excited for Bo Nix?
Very much.
All right. Give me your Bo Nix just went out there and threw for 5 touchdowns in a regular season game. I'm excited for Bo Nix' reaction.
Come back to me because I don't know that we'll see 5 this year, but
oh man, I had to put it out there so you'd be really excited, man. I want to see. I'm ready for excited Jody. That's what I'm getting after here. Trevor, I think go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I'm as excited as can be because this is a handpicked quarterback by Payton. No, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you were on with Breeze. Did Payton make Breeze? Did Breeze make Payton? What we do know was for 6 years in San Diego, he was a one-time Pro Bowler, never really did anything. And when he got to New Orleans, Payton took him first year to an NFC Championship game, won him a Super Bowl, had him in multiple runner-ups as the MVP. You know what side of the fence I'm on.
Yes. I don't know how you got over on that side of the fence, but you're on that side of the fence now.
Because I was very much on the other side for a while.
Yes, you were.
But everything that I've seen I'm both guys, to be honest, Payton and Nix. But everything that I've seen, they've clicked. He's wanted to adjust his playbook to Nix. with RPOs and different things. We didn't see RPOs with Drew Brees ever. He definitely didn't want to adjust his playbook to Wilson. So there's some give and take with Payton now because we were seeing passes over the middle. I mean, we've seen 2 dimes today in OTAs down in the red zone. And that's what I'm excited for. I don't care about the 50-yard bombs or whatever. That's not Payton's offense, really. It's the short to intermediate, move the chains. I don't care if it's +4, +5, +6, +10. Move the chains. I don't care how you get down the field. Get down the field.
Very good, man. I like a guy that can also come in here and say, hey, I'm on the other side of the fence. I got over there. I used to be on one side. You know, people are willing or are able to change their opinions over time. And that's something that Jody has done. Trevor, you haven't changed your opinion on where you think this quarterback battle is, where you think Bo Nix is at. I'm going to get to a few comments just really quick, but then I'm going to get your thoughts and your insights on that. Graham's coming here and saying, I still believe the team knows, in fact, who the QB1 might already be. Scott's pointing out that on November 17th, we'll be seeing Justin Simmons once again. Got to point out that Michael Ronquillo came in here and dropped stars when he said hello, but he's also coming in here and saying Peyton Manning was spotted at Broncos and Packers joint practices today. Yeah, there's been quite a few people throughout the time, and I'm glad that the Broncos have opened up their arms to those past players, past coaches, past alumni into Broncos country and Dove Valley. So we get to see people like Peyton Manning wandering the sidelines, just for an instance. Graham's saying he thinks it's obviously it's the Broncos know, but it's just not getting outside of the building. Wouldn't be surprised.
I'll agree with that. I think Nix has already been told, to be honest. I mean, he all but slipped up with Kay Adams when he was doing that interview. Come back at this time next week and we'll know. And the way he answered questions, everyone knows that he's playing games, and as long as Nix doesn't go out and just puke all over himself Sunday night, it's a wrap.
Very okay. So that's Jody's thoughts. I will. This is a good transition. Roy saying, "Looks, step on the brakes a bit. Way too many people putting Nix on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. To me, I need to see more in games that mean something." That's a great transition. Trevor, take it away, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I just like he's played one preseason game, and all of a sudden now, I mean, he's the starter. I mean, are we watching? Some people have different takes on it. I get it, but we're watching the same game here. Let's make sure we're not overhyping him. Again, I'm all over Nix. I was all over him before anybody was, but I'm just saying, Jarrett Stidham, none of the supporting cast helped him out. I'm not saying that Jarrett Stidham should be the guy. I'm just saying let's pump the brakes on Bo Nix a little bit as being the starter. He's played one preseason game so far. Half of the snaps was against backups. Let's see how he plays this weekend against the Packers before I'm ready to name him the starter. And I think that's what Payton is too. I don't think they know in that building yet who the guy is, because think about it. What do they gain out of it by keeping it hidden from that? If whoever the quarterback could be, what do they get? Because they're not going to get a lot for Jarrett Stidham anyways. So it's like, what do they gain from it? Just name him the guy if he's the guy already. Washington Commanders had no problem doing it. Caleb Williams is a starter. Bo Nix really emerged as that guy. Why was he named the guy already? I just think it's closer than what people think as far as competition. And I think Sean Payton thinks that, Jarrett Stidham can be maybe a starter in the NFL. George Payton came out and said it already, and I would imagine that him and Sean Payton are pretty aligned together, that they think that Jarrett Stidham could possibly be a starter in the NFL. And I would imagine that Sean Payton's higher on Jarrett Stidham than a lot of people are. Again, I'm not saying that Jarrett Stidham should be the starter, but I'm just saying pump the brakes on Bo Nix. Maybe him not starting week 1 is the worst thing for him. I think that they should get a good sample size of Bo Nix this season, because at the very least this year, you need to find out Bo Nix is the guy. I'm just saying I don't want to ruin his confidence or maybe diminish his confidence at all and ruin him possibly by forcing him out there maybe sooner than he was, projected or wanted or is ready to be out there, I should say. So I'm just pumping the brakes on Bo Nix just in general. I'm not saying that I'm not high on Bo Nix. I need to see more than one preseason game before I'm, ready to name him the starter. Same thing with Jarrett Stidham. I just think this competition is closer than some may want to believe.
I have a question. You keep saying, or you said, if he's not ready, what has he done to show you that he's not ready yet. That's where I'm hyped up. He has done everything that he's been asked. He has not shown that he's not ready. So yeah, if he was having a performance like Drake May, where by all reports it's been bad, then I agree. But that hasn't been the case here.
But I mean, again, for me, real quickly, and I think Keith can kind of, I think he's in line with me on this one. I think it's Bo Nix's feet. I mean, sometimes he has, gets those happy feet in the pocket. Sometimes he's not always accurate and sets his feet. And when he does set his feet, he's accurate. Also, I think, in my opinion, he got away with 2 interceptions in this game this past weekend. That pass to Billy in the end zone could have very well been picked. That first pass that he made could have very well be picked. Those are 2 passes that stick out to me that he might have interceptions. We might be talking about something different if you're facing a different defense. So I'm just backing the train up a little bit because I do think he did some things very nicely, and I do think he's promising. All I'm saying is he wasn't perfect out there, and I think that's shown in practice as well. That's why Sean Payton has not named him the starter yet. If he was perfect and he was looking way better than Stidham, why wouldn't you name him the starter already? Get him reps with the starters. I just think it's a closer competition than what's believed out there right now. And I'm not sitting here saying that Jarrett Stidham should be the starter because I think Bo Nix should be the guy long term, and I think he's clear as day as a guy long term. I just don't understand what you gain by not naming a starter right now if there's a clear-cut starter right now that's ready to go.
Because I think that's Sean Payton playing games. He's always tries to one-up somebody, always trying to try to pull the wool over someone's eyes, and that I don't agree with. I don't name the starter and be done. You know who you want it to be, name it and be done.
This is what I'll say. I'm going to get my 2 cents in here. I think that Sean Payton does play games. I mean, we talk about the J.J. McCarthy thing, and he talked about how he propped him up and got everyone excited, and everyone thought that was their guy and the whole 9 yards. And he's like, pull the
Do
the
you believe that story?
I believe, absolutely. I believe that story. I believe that there's more games that happen around draft time about whether it be pro visits and the whole 9 yards. I think that's a lot of times why you see pro visits and then the guy they never end up drafting him. It was all about trying to hype a guy up so someone else maybe takes him. I think that he is a mastermind at playing games, but I don't think he's playing games here. I think he's playing a different game. And I know that me and Trevor have kind of talked about this off air. So Jody, this is a little bit new for you. This is a little bit new for the posse, but this is where I'm concerned. It's not easy to go into Seattle and win for any team, regardless of how good Seattle is. That's game 1. The Steelers, we talked about the Steelers and possibly Russ and the team that they have around them and the defense that they have being a very formidable playoff team. That's a tough game. That could be a loss. Then you go play the Buccaneers away. That's probably one of the more up-and-coming, hotter teams in the NFL, especially after last season. That could very well be a loss. Then you play the Jets away with Aaron Rodgers and everything they put together, probably one of the better defenses in the league. If Bo Nix goes out there and he's 0-4, where do you go? Where is his confidence? Where do you turn? If Jarrett Stidham goes out there and goes 0-4, guess what? You got the Raiders and the Chargers coming up, and you get to bring Bo Nix in. I think there's as far as the plan that Sean Payton has, he needs to make sure that he doesn't go out there and get Bo Nix killed, whether it be physically or with his confidence as he starts off his career in the NFL. And that's one of the things I think he's waiting to make sure that this guy has everything so that he can go out there and post a 2-2, or a 1-4 with great performances. Because if he goes out there and goes 0-4, now Broncos country doesn't know what to do. And if Sean Payton puts Stidham in at that point, I don't know what Broncos country will feel about Sean Payton, quite honestly. Jody, since you're a little bit more on the Bo Nix train, your thoughts on everything I just said?
For me, I don't really care if Denver's. I mean, I do because I want to see them win, but I don't care if they go start off 0-4 if Nix is playing well. If you go 0-4 and you're losing 30, 28 games or whatever, Nix is playing well, then I don't really have a problem with that. You know that you have problems in other areas. So, record wise, it doesn't really matter to me. Second of all, have almost put all my eggs in the basket of Sean Payton. Sean Payton is going to put him in positions to succeed. That's why when you hear a lot of these little short dump off, little short passes, that's doing, I think, a lot of that is to get his confidence, to get him in a rhythm, to get him going. Um, he doesn't want him to go out there and just be bombing 30, 40-yard passes every time. That's not what Nick's is. And so I trust Peyton to set up a plan where Knicks won't fail. Lean on the run game, some RPOs, let him run, some different things. He's going to set it up where he almost can't fail unless Knicks just is not the guy. He's going to set it up where he won't fail.
Plan to not fail. Tough to do, but certainly a possibility. I want to get to a few comments. I'll throw it back over to Trevor on the same particular topic, and then I want to get on to that number 2, number 3 topic and where everybody kind of sits as well. Graham saying it's just unfortunate they got rid of a preseason game because, we used to get a little bit better feel. We could go back and forth in a QB competition and still, have that last meaningless game, in the preseason game 4. Roy saying, number 1, Judge, with all due respect, Nix throws off his back foot way too much. Michael Ronquillo says, when Bo Nix is named the starter, you can't go back. Quarterback Jarrett Stidham, go back to quarterback Jarrett Stidham because we will be toasted. Coach is saying, hiding the starting QB could mess with Seattle just a little bit. Roy's coming in with his number 2 point, says he gets out of the pocket way too quick when the pocket's still good. I like this, Paul. I would love this to be the fact. 3-0, and then we just keep going on. Roy says, if we go 0-4 with Knicks, there's no turning back. Michael's in agreement. Pearl says, by the way, Pearl came in, said hello to everybody. Hello to you as well, Pearl. Fantastic owner of Morgan Trinkets, our fantastic sponsor. But she says Stidham will be 0-4, definitely, or for sure. So Roy's also saying, I agree, Pearl, but where do you turn to? Lastly, Roy says Bo Nix will be the real deal down the road. Not yet. Trevor, like I said, we kind of laid out the scenario, how the season starts out, who could be the starter. Jody says, hey, we can come up with a scheme, a plan where we really put Bo Nix in the position to really not fail, maybe put him in a position where he doesn't have to do too much to win those games and still come out with maybe that 2-2 record I was talking about, or a 1-4 great performance. What are your thoughts on this? I know that we tend to be a little bit more on the same page on this, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just kind of thought about this right now, Keith, as you were talking. With Bo Nix, if he's named the starter, you give him 2 preseason games before naming him the starter. Again, if he earns it, I'm all for it. But I'm just saying that's a pretty small sample size in game. We can talk about practice all day, but in game, that's a different story. We all know, these players get paid the big bucks to play in games, and the in game style, the pace is different from practice. That's why I say maybe is it too much? Is it putting too much on Bo Nix's plate? Starting him after 2 preseason games, because we all know he won't play the 3rd preseason game if he's named the starter. And Stidham's had a full year plus in this system. It's kind of starting to make sense to me a little bit. Again, if Nix goes out there and balls, I think it's a different story. But I think it's a close, call right there, as far as the quarterback competition. But I just wonder, and I'm concerned with, is it putting too much pressure on Bo Nix? Only starting him, naming him the starting quarterback, just 2 preseason games under his belt. That might be a tall task, for the rookie quarterback. And I think that, again, I'm willing to sacrifice, this year a little bit for the long term and for the long run. So if I'm willing to sacrifice, again, a couple of games this year, put Jarrett Stidham in there for a little while, then I will do that if that means Bo Nix is going to be successful long term. So that's just another kind of little thought that I don't think we brought up too much that I just kind of thought about right now. And I wonder if it's on Sean Payton's mind as well.
I'm going to go right back to you on just one, and then I'll go to Jody on the next. I'll hit 2 comments. Pearl's coming in, says, remember any given Sunday. And then she says, and who do the refs want to win? Well, I think we got a good script this year, with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. But Trevor, just really quick, I want to wrap up this quarterback topic. So I'll kind of do rapid fire. Is Stidham still in the mix for QB1? Does Wilson have a chance of making this roster? What are your thoughts on those two? And then I'll go over to Jody on the same ones.
I think that the Jarrett Stidham is, I think, definitely in the competition right now. I don't think, again, I said it before, I don't think he did anything to lose the job on Sunday. I think Bo Nix showed flashes, but I think we need to see more from both guys, honestly, before we can call this quarterback competition done. As far as Zach Wilson making this roster, I think there's a chance. It's really hard, I think, to keep the wide receivers and the cornerback depth that you have, and where this team needs that depth right now, and still keep 3 quarterbacks in this roster. I'm the way I'm back and forth on is with Zach Wilson is, if you cut him, is he going to be able to go through waivers? You're going to be able to get him back on practice squad? I don't know. I don't know that you're going to be able to get him, because teams like upside. At the same time, with Jarrett Stidham, you're not getting Jarrett Stidham back either if you cut him. So it's just like, and I think, again, Sean Payton's more of a Jarrett Stidham guy than I think anybody. So it's really hard. Honestly, that keeping 3 quarterbacks in this roster, I think, is the biggest mystery, one of the biggest mysteries on this roster. I think that they probably, I think they go on a limb. I think that they I think they just end up cutting Zach Wilson, I think, honestly. I don't think they keep him. I think they try to see if they can run him through practice squad, but it's so close to call right now, honestly. And that's just, it's such a, big mystery of what Sean Payton's going to do. And just really comes down to how well Zach Wilson plays over the next couple preseason games. I think he'll get a pretty good sample size to be under center, in Sean Payton's offense.
Very good. I appreciate you trying to go rapid fire. Rocket Man can sometimes, keep those boosters going for quite some time.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over to the Judge Jody. He can have some pretty long sentencing as well sometimes. But does Jarrett Stidham still have a chance at QB1? Where does Zach Wilson end up when it comes right down to it? Does he end up on this roster? What do you think, Judge?
No, I don't, and I actually think Zach Wilson, the way he played in preseason game 1, and the upside was Zach Wilson, and from all reports, Sean Payton tried to get him for a long time in this trade. It just makes
true.
And you save $5 million getting rid of Stidham. You know that there's no upside there. The spark that he talked about last year was not there. There was no spark in game 1. You can say playmakers let him down or whatever. When it was 3rd and 12, 3rd and 18, whatever it was, and we checked down for 3, that is what Stidham does. It's check down, where Bo Nix, 3rd and 12, he throws it for 18 and gets a first down. And long term, I think if Bo Nix, something was to happen to him, he wants to see what he has in Zach Wilson. You know what you have in Stidham, and it's somebody that can come in and not let the wheels fall off for 1 or 2 games, but is that a long-term thing? So if I was going to guess, we keep 2 quarterbacks, and it's Nix 1 and Wilson 2.
So
go ahead, buddy.
No,
I want to get to some comments.
Yeah, no, real quickly, I just want to point it out. We know what we have in Zach Wilson, though, and if you're bought into Bo Nix, why do you need to what's this fascination with keeping Zach Wilson on this roster? Because of his upside. He's a free agent at the end of the year. If you're bought into Bo Nix, he's that guy 100%. Buy into the rookie quarterback. What's the point of keeping Zach Wilson around? You need a veteran, I think, behind him. Zach Wilson's been through a lot in his career. And I just don't know that he's, if you need a spot start from a guy, and let's say the Broncos are in the playoff mix right now, I'm not sure Zach Wilson can be behind center and, perform well with this offense. I think he's gaining momentum for sure, but you gave up very little for Zach Wilson. And I think that the Broncos are going to have to consider this as well. How do other teams value Zach Wilson around the league? I think that a team would pick up Jarrett Stidham, I think, pretty quickly, I think, as a backup quarterback. And that's, again, it's not me being high on Jarrett Stidham as a starter, but I think that, he is a solid backup for a team. I just don't know that this whole keeping Zach Wilson for his potential upside when you drafted Bo Nix 12th overall is something that we should continue to keep up hope for. When you have, Bo Nix going forward, let's just rock with Bo Nix 100% and keep a veteran behind him. in case he would go down. And then maybe try to see if you can, sneak Zach Wilson into, down through waivers and maybe get on the practice squad, and he can start if you absolutely need it. But I'm not on this whole Zach Wilson, promise. Yes, there's promise with him. I just don't know, why would we continue to talk about this if you took Bo Nix 12th overall and he's the guy?
But where's the promise
Quickly.
with Stidham? We've seen 2 games last year and got nothing, and we've seen 2 series last Sunday and got nothing. I guess
enough.
that's my thing with him.
Yeah.
We've seen nothing. We've seen 2 full games against bad teams and got nothing.
I'll just wrap it up this way. I don't think we are the most envious in the QB2 competition around the league. Let's put it that way. No one's going just pining and waiting for us to make this decision. I think that, certainly there's a possibility that Stidham gets picked up. Certainly there's a possibility that Zach Wilson gets picked up, but I don't think anybody's going out of their way. And the ideas of trading either one of these guys, I don't think is high. I mean, you're talking I'm a late round draft pick a couple of years down the road, probably for either one of these guys. It's just, there's no value there, I don't think, with either one of these guys. It's not an envious position to be in. So now you got to make your choice. Do you take the guy that's had a ton of starts, but it's kind of been a project and that has been in the making for quite some time, but a first round overall pick, top of the draft, number 2 overall pick? Or do you ride with the guy who hasn't had that many starts, but has been loved by guys like Bill Belichick and Sean Payton, along the way? So it's, like I said, not a great position to be in. I need to hit some comments. I need to hit a sponsorship, and I need to move on. So, Jody, I know that you turned on your mic. You probably have more to say, but
I just had a quick question for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead, quickly.
Why was Zach Wilson brought here, in your guys' opinion, then?
Really quickly, I think if he was completely held back in New York, that the fact that just being in Denver flipped a switch to where this guy was automatically being a contender with Bo Nix, with Jarrett Stidham from the very get, that's worth taking a chance on. And that's absolutely what Sean Payton said. It's worth taking a chance on. Now, if it's a slow project to try to get him to where he's now, competitive with Bo Nix, and now we're talking about the number 2 overall pick versus a number 12 overall pick. So it should be an easy decision, but we're trying to get him to that point, I think, still. And with that, that's kind of an expendable piece now at this point. If he would have already been there, that's what we would hope for at best case scenario. Trevor, your thoughts?
Yeah, just quickly, I think it's value. Again, I think Keith, that's what you were trying to say here. So you give up a 6th round pick for Zach Wilson, a former 1st round pick, a highly 1st round draft pick, and the Jets ate half his salary. So, I mean, I think any team, with a head coach, an offensive mind like Sean Payton would take a chance on Zach Wilson. That talent like that. I think it's going to be I do think it's going to be a slower process, for Zach Wilson to kind of get comfortable with this offense. And I'm all for that. I just don't know that it's worth keeping 3 quarterbacks. And again, if Bo Nix goes down, if he is a starter, I'm concerned because I don't know that Zach Wilson can run with the ones, So and I do think he needs more time. I think he's a Sam Darnold from last year.
That's fair. I mean, I would have loved Zach Wilson to come in there and be like, oh man, we don't know who our starter should be. Man, Zach Wilson is looking like the number 2 overall pick, just from a couple of years ago that everyone expected. He's just not quite there yet. A couple of comments really quick. Got to get to the Dreamweaver. Every time it's been way too long, JC. I appreciate you jumping in here. He's dropped a few comments. Yeah, absolutely. You're scratching. All right, I thought you were clapping it up for JC. But man, good to see you. He's saying, "What's up, boys?" He also says he wants Zach number 2. He's got experience of starts and tons of upside. The Jets ruined him, in his opinion. And last one from him, I just want to get all the JCs because I think he says we also gave up draft capital for Wilson. Nothing too big though. Nothing that nothing that I'm worried if we didn't necessarily have. I mean, we've given up 3rd round picks and 2nd round picks. But I'm telling you what, guys, I got to get to our sponsorship. And I'm telling you, if you're looking for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and estate gold at wholesale prices, I'm telling you, it's like everyone's talking about Bo Nix. It's the thing it's the place to go. It's Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets was once a nationwide company. They have 33 plus years experience in the industry. They know what they're talking about. They know how to get fantastic product. And how do you find fantastic product from Morgan Trinkets? Head on over to Facebook. I'll drop the link here in just a second. You can see their inventory there. You can message Pearl. She can tell you what else she has available. She takes PayPal over there on Facebook, and all orders over $50 shipped absolutely free. But hey, if you want to check out Morgan Trinkets in person, she still does shows in all of northern Colorado and southern Wyoming, really hopping during the summer months. So you need to check out Morgan Trinkets on Facebook to find out where they're at. Show up to their shows. They'll take all major credit cards. Oh, and by the way, guys, you like silver? Morgan Trinkets has silver, all sterling silver, starting at what $20 all the way up to $1,000. It's amazing. They have amazing inventory over at Morgan Trinkets. Check them out, Morgan Trinkets. You guys have been fantastic supporters of Morgan Trinkets. Can't thank you all enough. If you haven't purchased, go check them out today. Morgan Trinkets. I'll drop the link. We're going to move on to another topic, man, and it's another big one because it's one of those competitions and one of those places that we have seen a deficit, certainly off of last year. Jody, there's been a big competition. We finally saw Riley Moss start to step up. We've been waiting for him all last year. He did a little bit of special teams. Now he's out there. He's out there competing. But at the very same time, the guy everyone forgot about, the guy I've been trying to point out, Damarri Mathis, according to Sean Payton, is in the running. Where do we go as far as cornerback number 2? Who is the better pairing opposite PS2? And I'd love to get the posse's ideas as we get yours, and then head on over to Trevor on the same thoughts.
For me, it's Riley Moss. You traded up for him last year. You invested a lot to trade up to get him. So for me, it's Riley Moss. You didn't invest that much in Damarri Mathis. But like you said, I'm excited because that's another guy that we wrote off that's turned it around for whatever reason. And for the lack of depth that we have at a lot of positions, if you can go 4 or 5 deep at corner, that really can help you in a lot of things where you have lack of depth at safety, some other things that you can nickel, dime, you can do some different things to substitute that lack. So, but Riley Moss is the guy for me. A little bit younger. You traded up for him. That's the guy I want to see win this spot.
Liking the Riley Moss, man. I understand, man. There's a guy that is long. He's lengthy. He comes from, the Iowa school of seems like cornerback university up there a lot of times, secondary university for certain. Before I get over to Trevor and his thoughts on this cornerback 2 competition, I just want to catch up just a couple more comments really quickly. Roy was just going over that training camp, and he says, here's my rant. Yes, I'm a new Kurt Valente. One reporter says the Denver Broncos dominated practice. 3 others say, to paraphrase, it was close. Denver barely won. Michael Ronquillo comes in and says, 24 Broncos, Packers 21 during the joint practice today. Packers O-line was not good on protection of Jordan Love against the Broncos defense during the practice today. And lastly, Michael comes in again, kind of spouting off a little bit about where everyone's ranked across the NFL right now by all the media. Packers were supposed to be one of the best NFC teams this year, and the Broncos were to be one of the worst in the AFC. Talking about NFC and AFC. That being said, some great cornerback play in that joint practice as well. We're talking about that cornerback 2 position. What do you think? Damarri Mathis, Riley Moss, the competition they put in, who's the better pairing across from PS2?
Yeah, I think the Broncos, perfect scenario, they're invested into Riley Moss. So I think that would be the guy that they would, and I fully do expect that. That's the guy they're going to give every rep to be on the other side of PS2 on the boundary corner. And I think another guy that keep in mind is Chris Abrams-Drain. The rookie, he's starting to really turn heads a little bit as well. I thought he had a really solid game on Sunday, and I think that maybe down the line he could be a guy that could push a couple guys in his cornerback room. But I do think Riley Moss is a guy that they're going to give the reps to be the guy. I wonder where Levi Wallace's injuries at. I think that he's a guy that's probably their safety blanket. I mean, you sign him to a 1-year contract. Ideally, you're not wanting him to be the starter. You're wanting Riley Moss to be the guy long term. So, I think Riley Moss is the guy right now. But again, I do think this is another reason why Sunday's game is important, not just for the quarterback position, but for the cornerback position as well as other positional battles. I think sometimes, the quarterback position, rightfully so, we get so caught up into that, but it's like there's so many different, positions that really have not been finalized yet. There's a lot of competition on this roster, and I think Sean Payton likes the competition. Seems like he's excited about it. So cornerback being one of those, very, very important positional battles. But yeah, Riley Moss for me, I agree with Jody there. But keep an eye on Chris Abrams-Drain as well.
It's funny, that cornerback position. Like I said, I'm so excited about Riley Moss. I honestly thought Levi Wallace was going to come in here. He was going to be the guy when he first initially came in here. He was turning some heads and making some plays, and everyone's like, looks like we're going to have to really rely on Levi Wallace. All of a sudden, seems like Riley Moss, along with Damarri Mathis, turned it on. Like you pointed out, Chris Abrams-Drain looked pretty dang good out there. And another guy that was talked about early in training camp, saw a little bit of play before he went out with a possible concussion, was Art Green as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of depth in this cornerback room when you start to put all the pieces and parts together. We'll be talking about 53-man rosters a lot more over the next couple of weeks. But that being said, I'm in agreement with you guys. Riley Moss is where we made the investment. It's nice, though, to have a Damarri Mathis type on your roster. No different than it was kind of pointed out in the Kay Adams, Sean Payton interview, that we have a lot of big wide receivers, but not necessarily those smaller, squirrely, fast wide receivers. You'd love to be able to have, again, not all have tall, long, lengthy cornerbacks back there. You'd like to have one guy that's maybe a little bit smaller that can make up with some twitchy movement and some faster cuts and speed, even in the coverage side of things as well. So, we're moving through it. That cornerback topic took a little bit less time than I expected, man. But like I said, I think I had some pretty exciting topic moving on. Jody, did you have something, man? Because I don't know. It was just a feeling I got from you. If not, I'm moving right on to what we have. And I called this one More, Less, or Not at All. So I'm going to hit Jody on this one. And what this is it's going to be what you want to see in this preseason game too. Who do you want to see more? Who do you want to see less? And who do you not need to see at all? So first on the docket, might as well just start off right here. I got Bo Nix. I got Jarrett Stidham. I got Zach Wilson. More, less, not at all. Where are you going, Jody?
For Nix, I need to see more from Nix, but Stidham, I don't need to see any more from him. I've seen enough. Okay. And Zach Wilson, I need to see more from Zach Wilson. I'd like to see him grab.
You already broke the rules. More or less, not at all.
Okay. More Zach Wilson. I need to see more from Zach Wilson.
Okay.
Not at all from Jarrett Stidham, because we've seen what we're going to get, and probably less from Bo Nix.
Very good. Very good. Right over to Trevor, man. Same thing. More, less, not at all. Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson. Where are you putting them?
I think more from Zach Wilson and Bo Nix. I'm more from all three of them. I'll just say all three of them, honestly.
You can't break the rules already. You have to put
each one
in a category.
It's true.
It doesn't matter. This is the tough decisions you need to make. It's kind of like cut, start, sit. You know what I mean? And you got Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, and who knows who else. You know what I mean? You got to choose. You got to choose.
It's what again? Repeat that, because
more, less, and you don't need to see any more at all. That can go either way. See, that I gave you an out on that. You've seen enough because he's so good, or you've seen enough because you're ready to send him to the waiver wire. So I gave you a little bit of an out there. More or less, not at all.
More from Bo Nix and Zach Wilson, not at all from Jared Stidham, because I think, again, I agree with Jody. We know who he is, but I think that
you rule breakers.
Starter.
That's all right.
I answered it right. Hey, and by the way, I was looking
who's in your less category then?
In the quarterback room?
Yeah, I said more, less, not at all. You put one in each category, and you put 2 in one. See?
Okay, not at all from Bo Nix, because he's and I just shot myself in the foot right there. But not at all from Bo Nix, because he's guaranteed to make this roster. Jared Stidham and Zach Wilson are not guaranteed to make this roster. To make Keith happy.
Okay, so who gets more and who gets less between Zach Wilson and Jared Stidham then?
Oh. More from both. They got to make the roster.
No, okay. That's not the rules. Please,
okay. less from Stidham, more from Zach, and not at all from Nix. There you go.
Oh,
but honestly, if there's no rules, I would say more from all of them.
Congratulations. Yeah, and I would want Randy Moss, and I would want Jerry Rice, and I would want.
There's no starter.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Yeah, and we're not even talking about 3 starters on our roster. Only one of these guys can start.
No, I'm not saying there's not one at all that's a clear starter right now.
That's your dilemma. Okay. Well, we're going to try this again. We'll see if this goes any better. I'll move on to this one. I'm not going to make it I'll see if I could try to not make it a tough one. I'll go to this one. Trevor. More. Less. Not at all. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Tim Patrick.
No. Wow, that's tough. That's very tough.
It's tougher from here.
Yeah, I guess. Less from Marvin Mims, because I think he makes this roster. More from Tim Patrick, because he could get a chance. There's a chance he could be cut. And not at all. Not at all. Okay. Not at all from Troy Franklin, because I think they drafted him high enough that I think he will make this roster regardless. And I think that he's more of a long-term project than a guy that will play immediately this year.
You got an agreement on more Tim Patrick on that one from Pearl. So over to you, Jody. See how we do with the rules. More, less, not at all. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Tim Patrick.
Mine are the same as Trevor. But definitely I need to see a lot more from Tim Patrick, because if you cut him, you can save like $7 million with his deal.
I think he renegotiated down to like $1 million.
But they did a big thing today, like his dead money plus whatever. I think you saved like $6 or $7 million.
Oh, okay. Didn't read it, so I'll take your word.
Same with Mims, I guess less, or Troy Franklin probably less. He's where he was picked and the way you traded up to get him. He's pretty much a lock on this roster. He really hadn't earned it, but his draft pick will give it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And not at all from Marvin Mims, because I think he's a lock too, because he's the Troy Franklin of last year.
Fair enough. Okay. Move off of the wide receiver, but keeping it in a catching role, I guess you could say. Stick with Jody on this one. More, less, not at all of Adam Troutman, Greg Dulcich, Lucas Kroll.
Much more from Greg Dulcich. I need to see if he is a true number 1 tight end. Can he stay healthy? He has a lot to prove. He's going to make this roster, but I need to see a lot more from him, or he could be buried number 3 and not play. Less probably not at all Adam Troutman, because he is what he is. And probably less from Lucas Kroll.
Yeah, makes it the tough decision when you want to put everybody in the more category. I know. Let's flip it over to Trevor. Your thoughts on the more, less, not at all Adam Troutman, Greg Dulcich, Lucas Kroll.
was a great one.
You had time to take notes.
Yeah, but I was looking at a question for Pearl.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's why I was like, more from Greg Dulcich, because I think that it's his last chance, I think, on this roster. If he can't stay healthy, then he's gone. Less from Adam Troutman, because we know what he is. He's kind of like Stidham, but just as a tight end. And less from Kroll.
That'd be not at all for Kroll then.
Not at all. Okay, not at all for Kroll, because I think he's on this roster kind of regardless. But I think that unlike Dulcich, he stays healthy. Which again, I'm not trying to say here knock Dulcich. You can't control injuries at all. But I think Kroll, is a Payton guy, and I think he will make this roster. Regardless, I don't see them cutting Kroll.
Very good. Got to say hello to Kenny Kirkpatrick. He came in a long time ago saying, "Good evening, fellas. It's Friday night and it's DBR tonight. Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night." Kind of like Dreamweaver, making me think of those songs. Best Broncos podcast on earth. Thank you so much, Kenny. Kenny, the stepfather of the DBR podcast, man. And they're mixing it up. Everyone's excited to see Kenny Kirkpatrick when he joins the posse. Appreciate you joining in and having part of the conversation. Trevor, all right, just a few more. I got some time. I'll go this one with you then. Let's start kind of where we left off on one of our last main topics. Damarri Mathis, Riley Moss, and Chris Abrams-Drain. More or less, not at all. Where are you putting those three guys?
More from Moss. And who was the other name?
Mathis and Abrams-Drain.
Less from Drain because he makes this roster. And Mathis?
Yep, not at all.
Yeah, not at all. Because I think that, well, I'll say this. Let me switch that around. Okay. Moss, not at all. Mathis, more, and less for Abrams-Drain, because I think Mathis needs to prove that he needs to make this roster rather than Moss. Again, I'll go back to this. I know this has kind of been something that I, said at the higher draft. These guys were drafted a little higher, but it's true that these teams, when they invest in these guys, you tend to give them a longer leash. Mm-hmm. Moss, I think he's going to make this roster regardless. So I think that whether he's a starter or not, just based upon where he was drafted. So not at all from Riley Moss.
All right, man. Head over to the judge, get his thoughts on Mathis, Moss, and Abrams-Drain. Where you putting them, more or less, not at all?
I think I'll go not at all. Riley Moss, I think he's locked himself into that CB2 spot. Not at all, I guess. Abrams-Drain, I think he's locked in on this roster too.
That's 2 for not at all, though.
Or less, I guess. Less of Abrams-Drain.
Okay.
And less of Abrams-Drain and a lot more from Damarri Mathis. And I'll piggyback off of Trevor. He needs to show that last year was a fluke and his rookie year was really where it was at. I mean, he showed lots of flashes his rookie year, and he regressed a lot last year. And if he can get back to those flashes, then, like I said, you're 4 or 5 deep at cornerback, and that helps you at other positions as well.
Nice. I like it, man. You guys got. I love testing you guys this way, and at least holding your feet to the fire on these rules. Jody, I think you're going to love this next one. I think we're going to do maybe 2 more of these. This one for you. More, less, not at all. Samaje Perine, Blake Watson, Audric Estime.
Not at all. Samaje Perine. He is what he is. A lot more for Audric Estime, because I think he eventually will take over as your number 1 running back. If he doesn't, it's a thunder lightning with him and Jaleel McLaughlin, and not at all from Blake Watson.
Be less of Blake Watson. Are you
or
okay?
Less of Blake Watson.
Very good. This is tough. This is keeping all our minds and thoughts around this, and where you're going to put these guys. Samaje Perine, Blake Watson, Audric Estime, Trevor, where you slotting those guys?
less from Estime because, again, I think he makes this roster. I think he's a guy they can use in short yardage field, like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, or in the, in the red zone. Again, you need a guy that can get you barrel through the offensive line and get you a touchdown. A lot of short yard stuff. That's Estime. So less for Estime. Not at all from P. Ryan because, again, I agree with Jody. You kind of know where he's at. More from Watson because I think he's on the bubble right now, making this roster.
Very nice. Very nice. Michael, appreciate you chiming in on throwing your thoughts up on tight end right now. He says more from Gray Dulcich, less from tight end Kroll, and none from Troutman at all. So that was his thoughts on that one. Kenny was chiming in as well on that cornerback. He says more from Mathis, less from Moss, and none from Abrams Strain for him. His thoughts on the running back was more from Watson, less from P. Ryan, not at all from Estime. So, and Pearl saying less of Ryan, more of Watson. I'm not sure.
P. Ryan, I think she was.
Oh, P. Ryan, less of P. Ryan, more of Watson. Got 2 of those in. Last one, then I'll throw at you guys. I think this is one of the tougher ones. I do have one more if we have a little bit more time, but I'll start with you, Trevor. More, less, not at all. In preseason game 2, what do you need to see from Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, Mike McGlinchey?
More from Wattenberg, less from Ben Powers, and not at all from McGlinchey. Because of the name McGlinchey, and did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, because Powers, McGlinchey, you're kind of stuck with those guys, for a while. Wattenberg, I think they could replace him at center if he just wasn't panning out at all, which they've been sticking with him. So I would imagine that he's going to be their starting center. Now, Sean Payton hasn't come out and announced that yet, but he's been with the starters and has, had a lot of time with the starters. So, I think that he's more on the bubble than those other 2 guys from a financial standpoint anyways.
Very good. Interesting. I was surprised with McGlinchey, not at all. I want to get the judges' thoughts on this one. I know it's tough to put these guys and make choices. Go ahead, Trevor.
No, I was just going to say really quick on McGlinchey. This is, again, I would expect more McGlinchey. And again, these lists are tough because you want more from everybody. But financially, they just can't move off of them. That's why I say that. Like, even if you wanted more from him, financially they couldn't do it, so they have to kind of make it work with him and Powers, and would they have more flexibility if they want to move off of Wattenberg?
Fair enough. Jody, your thoughts on those 3 again, just to give the names again: Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, Mike McGlinchey, more or less, not at all.
I'll flip Powers and McGlinchey. I need to see not at all of Powers. I need to see less of McGlinchey, and I'll go a different route a little bit. Less of him getting beat in pass protection. I need to see less of that.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you, guys. I took a little bit of leniency on this. All right. Thank you.
And I think the easiest one of the 3 is Luke Wattenberg. I didn't see much more win this spot. I don't think he played well in the first game, and I don't think he's really looked that well in practice, but what does that say about the other 2 that they haven't grabbed a hold of the job? So I think that might be one of the 3 is going to start, but I think that might be a position that they look at the waiver wire and try to bring in a backup to do something, because if Forsythe was the guy because of Knicks, well, he hadn't done anything to come and take the reins because it's dangling right there. No one's grabbed that carrot right in front of their face.
Sam Mustipher was my favorite cat from that last game, man. He was holding it down better than anybody else against number 3s. That being said, Jody, we're right at that hour. Tell Broncos country, tell everybody that loves the DBR podcast what you're looking forward to, in this next preseason game in the next couple of weeks. As we wrap things up and say goodbye, I should say. I'm going to add that in.
I want to see Bo Nix clean some things up. Everyone talks about the footwork and some things. So clean that up, and put this job to rest. Someone said earlier, any given Sunday, you can't be scared to put Bo Nix out in Seattle. You can't cherry pick games. Everywhere you play is tough. And this is where you lean on Sean Payton. And as Kurt would say, why you're in bed with Sean Payton is you trust that Sean Payton has been in this league long enough that he will put a game plan together that may be totally different in Seattle with the crowd and things compared to at home versus Oakland or whoever, or Vegas. So you got to trust Payton that he will put Nix in the right position to succeed. And all Payton wanted to do off season was Nix is this smart guy and is ahead of all these other guys. So lean on that. He's not a 20-year-old, 21-year-old rookie. He's 24 years old, going to be close to 25 years old. So lean on that experience. I want to see that. And I want to see the fumbles cleaned up. I want to see the fumbles and the snaps. We've seen multiple drop snaps. We've seen 4 fumbles. I want that cleaned up. I don't care so much about points. I'd like to see scoring drives, but I don't care who wins. I want to see that type of stuff cleaned up. That's easy stuff. The fumbles, 4 fumbles in a game, and you are likely not to win very many games.
Before I get over to Trevor, just a couple of things. Kenny came in dropping stars. The stepfather's dropping stars. So I got to call out the stepfather. Thank you so much.
Yeah, seriously.
He dropped it on this one. I love it because we got to give it a little bit more love. More, none, not at all. Russell Wilson, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy. Laugh out loud. Yeah, definitely a little less.
Question.
Yeah, right.
Question.
Trevor, we're wrapping it up. We're getting out of here. What do you got to say to DBR podcast posse?
Yeah, I just want to get to Pearl's question really quick about Art Green. It seems like he will not play on Sunday. Again, we all know he suffered a concussion. Sean Payton expects him back in the preseason finale. So not this week, obviously next week. So I just wanted to get that out there for Pearl.
Thank you.
And anybody else out there. But no, great podcast tonight, guys. Great episode. Again, appreciate everybody in the posse for sending stars and for for just being here and interacting. We really love it. This is fun. Sorry I didn't get the more or less or not at all down enough. Hopefully I did a good enough job at least.
You did well, sir.
I appreciate everybody tonight. And, again, Sunday. I mean, I think this is a big, important game. It's the most important preseason game of the year for the Broncos, not just for the quarterback position, but for many of the, roster jobs and just players, on this roster in general. A lot of competition around this team's roster. So, I'm looking forward to seeing if anybody emerges and who doesn't. And then we'll find out pretty quickly who did not emerge as of going into the final preseason game, because we all know starters usually do not play during the final preseason game. So looking forward to it, and can't wait to break everything down after the game.
Yeah, I'll say one last thing that might make Jody happy and a lot of other Broncos country happy. In that interview with Kay Adams, Sean Payton, he said he already has the roster down to probably about 60, 61 guys. That means there's only about 7 or 8 guys on the bubble that are really playing it out on the field to see who makes this 53. Now, we all know that Bo Nix is going to make that 53. We're all waiting for that QB1 starter to be named. Who knows? If we get that information somewhat midweek, not normal day, we might just be talking about Bo Nix on a Wednesday, a Thursday, Sunday. Who knows? But that being said, Denver Bronco Roundup goes live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:15 Mountain Standard Time, just like you're watching right now. I want to say thank you to all the gave stars this evening. We appreciate you so much. Kenny, I got to call you out just because, wow, I didn't expect Kenny to be dropping stars, but Michael Ronquillo dropping in here with some stars here early. Who else did we have stars from? Am I missing somebody, guys? Because I feel like I'm missing somebody, but I reloaded my comments and I've lost all my stars. I'll say that I love everybody that comes in here. Comments is part of this posse that likes, shares, and subscribes. We appreciate you all so very much. don't forget, check out Morgan Trinkets, our fantastic sponsor. All your Southwest jewelry, pottery, estate gold, wholesale prices, sterling silver. I'm telling you, it's the place to be. Plus all those amazing shows. You can check them out if you're in the northern Colorado, southern Wyoming area. Other than that, the last thing that I want to just say, make sure that you're checking out, well, everything that you can check out with Rocky Mountain Sports Network and Denver Bronco Roundup, because we're on YouTube, we're on X, we're on Facebook, we have our own website. Jody, do you have one more thing before we get out of here?
I just had a quick yes or no from both of you. If
yes, sir,
Nix and Stidham both have horrible games, can Wilson win this starting job?
Trevor?
Okay. No.
Wilson can't win the job. No.
Okay.
I don't see that. I appreciate it. Michael dropping stars as we get out of here. Kenny saying that your final words should be choo choo because you're on that Bo Nix train. There, that's what I need when Bo Nix throws for 5 touchdowns. Choo choo! I love it. Scott saying no to your question as well. Great show, guys, from Kenny. Again, we appreciate you guys so much. Make sure that you're checking us out. We'll be doing post game as well. Don't forget about that. We always check out our post game. We'll probably be doing that preseason as well. We did it last week. We'll see if we can do it again this week. We always do it during the regular season, so that gives you 3 shows a week during the regular season. Easiest way to know, hit that notification button, right? Then you'll know if we have one of those surprise shows. We jump in here, we start talking Broncos with you and yours and everybody in the posse. But we got to get out of here like I always do. Make sure you keep your feet, your boots in those stirrups. Make sure you keep your guns in the holsters. And, of course, Broncos in your heart. Until next time, we're out of here. Have a great night, everybody.